gosh, I feel like Emma cried a lot. And there were a lot of emotional scenes that were deservedly emotional. I think, it's the answer that Colin and I usually give when someone asks us what the most difficult scene was for us, and it's the scene when Emma had to kill Hook, and I think that was also probably the most difficult emotional scene. It really was wearing. I mean, I think sometimes people don't realize how long you have to go through that stuff when you're shooting. In real life, you cry and sort of get over it, or you yell and you get over it, but when you're shooting a scene like that, you do it for 12, 13, 14, 15 hours sometimes, and your body's not really built to be that emotional for that long. So that scene was definitely, I think, really wore on both of us because of the emotion of that. The other scene that was tricky was at the end of season 1 when Henry ate the apple turnover, and Emma realizes that something really has gone wrong and she thinks he's died. That was a scene where I had to just be crying from the beginning without any lead up to it, and we did shoot that for like 12 hours. But that day I was like, I can't even see. So that was, I would say that was another very emotional scene.
Thank you. Hi, Jen. Hello. Yes, I'm from Israel. Thank you. Okay, so my question is, which actor or actress would you like to direct?
Would I what?
Would you like to direct?
Oh, that I would like to direct. Oh gosh, there's so many. Everyone on Once Upon a Time would be lovely to work with. It's interesting. I don't necessarily have someone in mind that I'm like, oh my gosh, I really have to work with this one person. At least so far in what I've directed, the right people really seem very obvious for each role, and the roles sort of, it's like they lead you to the right person, and sometimes it's the most unexpected person, and then you're so thrilled to be working with them. I felt that way with Sundogs completely. I mean, when I went into that, I had no idea who was going to play those characters. And to work with Ed O'Neill and Allison Janney and Michael and Morano and Melissa Benoist and Exhibit, I mean, it was like unbelievable to work with them. And they were all very different, and they were all wonderful. And I learned something from all of them, and I believe and hope they seem to have a great experience working with me. So, every story has its own heartbeat. So it's hard for me to say like, oh, it has to be that person. It's more just that I hope that every time I am lucky enough to be in a position to be directing that I attract the exact right cast, that I allow space for the right cast to present itself.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and you've inspired so many people with your character being on this prime time. Did you think it inspired that many people in this one?
Oh my goodness, I mean, it's still, I don't know that I completely understand, can grasp it still, and in a good way. When you first read a script, you have no idea if it'll get made, and then once it gets made, you have no idea if anyone will see it, and then once a few people see it, you have no idea if they're going to keep seeing it. So it's such a weird process where you're never sure. And then once you're shooting, you're kind of, especially for us when we were up and away in Vancouver and we're sort of in a forest all the time, you feel like you're in this void where you're not really aware of people's reactions. And it's part of what I always said I loved about, the San Diego Comic-Con every year. It's like, it's so amazing to be somewhere where everybody comes together because they love stuff. Like, they really come together for the love of something as opposed to being upset about something. Because usually people congregate because they're mad, not because they're excited and happy. So I never could have imagined that it would go to this point. And it's really cool. I mean, I can't really wrap my brain around it when I see everybody wearing Emma's jackets, and I love it. I mean, I totally love it. It's amazing. I just never imagined that something that I just would sort of study to do in my own little apartment, trying to figure it all out, would actually speak to people that way. So, huge part of it is the writing, and then. Whatever it is that I've been able to give in addition to that, I just feel super grateful that it's meant so much to people.
Hi Jen, so I was wondering if you would like to guest star in Outlander and what kind of character you would like to play.
I'm just gonna admit I'm super behind on Outlander, I'm really sorry. But I do love it, but I'm behind on it. It's It's going to be my next treadmill show. I watch TV on the treadmill. Yeah, I just want to run around with men in kilts. I'm so into it. I'm blushing talking about it. I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from for me, but I would just love to, like, you know, be in some really beautiful dresses, maybe ride some horses, and run around with men in kilts. Seems possible on Outlander, right? Yeah. Okay.
Hi, I was just wondering, if you had the opportunity to film or to direct the film adaptation of any book you've ever read, what would be and why?
Well, I'm not sure. I have a complicated relationship with that question because I'm such a book lover, and I often feel like most movies don't do the book a justice. So I feel like I don't want to be a hypocrite and be someone who does a bad job bringing a great book to life. I don't know. I mean, a lot of my classic favorite books have all been made and remade and you know, made over and over again. I think that the Elena Ferrante series is so gorgeous, and I'm sure she's never going to sell those rights. But the story of that friendship, I've just never seen a female friendship written like that, and to span 70 years. I don't know if anyone's heard about those books, so I might just be going on and on about something, but it's just so beautiful. It would require more than one film, but I think that's something that probably spoke to me most vividly in a way that I wished I could also see the movie version. But I also hope she never gives anyone the rights, because the books are just amazing and they should stay books.
Hi Jennifer, my name is Jacob. So there's something I love about stories. It's when heroes turn evil. How did it feel to change from being a hero to the Dark One?
It was fun, I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely fun. You know, there's something about always trying to walk that line as an actor when you are playing a hero, trying to figure out how to be strong and smart and make the right decisions, but also not take yourself too seriously and try to keep perspective on things. And oftentimes heroes, especially in writing, are required to be incredibly sacrificial, you know, and a lot of their decisions in their lives is about giving something up in order to make it better for someone else, and that becomes sort of their sense of self and their identity. So when Emma turned to Dark Swan, it was a very selfish and kind of indulgent time for her in a certain way, and it almost felt like a rebellious teenager, you know, where you're just like spreading your wings and trying to figure out your boundaries. But also within that, you know, you learn from it, you might sort of enjoy the indulgence for a certain amount of time, but eventually you sort of exhaust yourself and you get to a place where you want to return to the core of who you feel yourself to be. And ultimately for Emma, what was great about that was that when she did find herself needing to make sacrifices in the future, she was less resistant to it. She actually appreciated it.
Thank you so much, I love you.
I love you too, thank you.
Hi, I wanted to say that I know a lot of people say that Emma Swan has been such an inspiration for them and all that, but I personally, for me, it is just you as a person that I really come to be inspired by. And so, like, one of my favorite things is your Legacy of Positivity article, and I've used the techniques that you mentioned, you know, that your parents taught you and everything.
That's so cool. I love hearing that. That's great.
And I just wanted to know, like, how do you manage to stay so positive and so bright as a person?
Thank you. I feel like I was sort of, I'm kind of wired for happiness. I'm not a very down person, I guess. And I know that some of that's probably chemical. I mean, some people are just chemically put together one way or another. But I also am really very lucky. I have an amazing family and I have an amazing support system, and I, over the years, have developed incredible groups of friends, and I really do believe that you become what you're around, and it's why it's so important to think about the people that you let in your life and that you let be close to you. Because if I were surrounded by people who were darker or maybe not as positive, I'm sure that would start to become a part of who I was in a way that I may not even realize. So I think you have to be really vigilant in your life and know that you only get one life, and you want to really be careful who you let close to you and be discerning about that. So I try to be, sometimes it means making really hard decisions or decisions that you know someone else might not understand, but you know it's the right decision for you. So sometimes it's just making the hard choice to have the right people around you.
Thank you.
Hi Jen, my name is Katie. I wanted to know what life lessons have you learned from playing Emma, and what do you want to apply to your own life?
I feel like I've learned a ton from Emma. I feel like it'd be hard to think back through all of them just because I think there were a lot of very subtle things from a day-to-day basis that whatever she was going through would, of course, be something I'd have to think through and consider in a way that I would have to kind of reflect on my own life, and it would make me, grow and change in certain ways. But I think in the long run, mostly, it was really good for me to play a character that was able to overcome so many barriers, to be so vulnerable. It was very important to me that happened because I knew I needed that in my own life, and I knew that was something I was struggling with. And so, that's something I feel like right now I am trying to work on. I am trying to make time to be able to be closer to my family, and make time to be able to be closer to my friends, make time to be able to meet people I might want to spend time with romantically. And that requires a vulnerability that means you might get hurt. And this is a tough business. I've been in it for a long time. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of rejection. I've had a lot of relationships fall apart because I wasn't around to be able to sustain them, and that was heartbreaking, and I've had my own pain over that in my life, and so I'm struggling to get my own walls down so that I can be as close to my family as I want to be, and as close to my friends as I want to be, and hopefully open enough to meet someone that could really share my life with me. So, I feel like a lot of what Emma was working through in the last couple of years of the show is something that I'm working on in my own life, for sure.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, what's your favorite part about directing
There's amazing things about directing for me. I think because I've been acting for so long and I've just been on so many sets. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I've done over 300 episodes of television now, and I've been in, I don't even know how many films, or maybe between 20 and 30 or something like that. And just the sheer amount of time that I've spent on sets, you just sort of start to see the world and the way things piece together in a very particular way. And I just love cinema. I mean, I just love it. I love films. I've always loved films. And I think you have to be in love with it to want to direct, because otherwise it would probably destroy you. I love getting to tell a big story. As stressful as it can be, I love making 1,000 decisions a day, or 15,000 decisions a day, or whatever it adds up to being. And ultimately, I really love having the ability to set the tone on set and to be able to create a work environment that's positive. This is a business where we all feel very lucky to get to do what we love, but oftentimes people are under so much stress we end up in very toxic environments that are unnecessarily toxic. And so part of the joy for me is not just telling the story and figuring out the craftsmanship and trying to make it the best I can make it and learning something more every time, but also trying to create environments that people feel inspired in and feel like they can do their best work and they really want to go to work every day. So that's something that I would say is like really top of the list of something that's important to me that I really love about it.
Hi Jen, I just wanted to know how you feel about Emma Swan not being labeled as an official Disney princess yet.
That's a really good point. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. Maybe we need to start a petition. mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of fun to be like the rebel princess a little bit. But, you know, she should have a ride at Disney World someday. Getting a little yellow bug. And go on little journeys, right? Like, there's, you know, all these like villains can appear and then they can redeem themselves and be better people. I feel like there's a ride there for sure. If you start the petition, I'll sign it.
So first of all, I just want to say that I didn't think you could get any prettier, and here you are in person, and your hair is just
Thanks, that's really nice. Thank you.
I want to ask what was either your favorite or the funniest scenes in the film?
Well, I mean, I always go back to Wish Realm old Hook. I mean, really, only because it just made Colin so happy to be that. Like, it wasn't just that it was like, oh, funny. It was like, he just got so much joy out of it that it killed me. So that was some of the funnier stuff that I really enjoyed. She and I have definitely had some good like giggle fits, you know, when you're shooting at like 4 in the morning and you've been on set for however many hours and you're just saying some of the crazy stuff that we say on this show, like we would just lose it sometimes. I have several kind of favorite sections. I mean, I really enjoyed the Back to the Future section. I really loved that. And I really enjoyed exploring Dark Swan and building that and figuring that out. And really everything that went on in Camelot. And then I really enjoyed the musical episode. And I feel like that was something that I felt so lucky was that big of a part of Emma's journey. And it felt like the ultimate culmination of this whole experience in terms of, you know, the Disney musicals and the Disney cartoons and all that stuff, and just feeling like this was our version of that, and it was really fun. It was really, really fun.